Welcome back to the second part of our unit. This will be the last unit for this year. We're going to be looking at the second part of looking at personal selling and sales promotion in this video lecture. We're going to look at the steps of the personal selling process, and we'll look at a variety of different types of sales promotions. Not so much of a big picture here as there might be for other units. Basically, we're going to go through just kind of step by step of a personal selling process and make it more than just the sales pitch, but kind of the different steps that go before and after that, including the follow-up as well as prospecting, let's say, potential leads and making sales. And then we're going to talk about the different types of sales promotions, different types of things, coupons, discounts, volume discounts, and things of that sort that can be used as sales promotions as part of the marketing process. So the steps in the selling process goes in usually in about 7 steps. So the first step is prospecting and qualifying. So generally you're trying to look for leads, and this sometimes is gathered through surveys. It's usually gathered through requests for information or interest. And basically you're just saying, okay, rather than try to market to or try to sell to everyone, you try to get people who might be curious about your product or show some interest in your product, but are not ready to make the purchase. And so you're going to, in a sense, target them for follow-up. Then you're going to do some background research, finding about your clients, what their needs are, maybe some of the things they like and dislike, and basically do background research on it. Then you're going to approach the client. You're going to approach the potential customer. Say, look, I am a salesperson for this. This is how we can serve your needs. And then you're going to make a presentation. Usually, let's say, here's this, and that's usually what you might think of as a sales pitch. Next, you're going to talk about handling objections. So obviously, there's a reason why they haven't purchased your product or service yet. And you're going to try to, in a sense, pre-rebut or respond to those objections or what their reservations are from buying your product. And then you're going to ask them to make a purchase. And after that, you're going to ask to follow up. These are pretty straightforward, and we're going to talk about them a little bit in more detail over the next few slides. So the steps in the selling process, the first one is prospecting or qualifying. So the word prospecting, think of, let's say, a prospector for gold. You're looking for potential. You're looking for people who might be qualified, people who have the resources to buy your product, people who might, in a sense, be served well by your product. And a lot of this is going to be, remember, you're going to do personal selling when people are making large purchases, but also people are making complex purchases, which means they're buying large equipment, they're buying expensive things. And so they're going to need to have at least the resources to be able to make that purchase, but also they're going to have a lot of questions and maybe be somewhat of an expert customer who's going to be able to distinguish between different grades of quality and different types of services that are going to be provided with the product. So you're going to try to find people who qualify, right? You're not going to waste your time on people who are not going to have enough money to engage or to buy the product. Just in the sense, like when you're a real estate agent, if someone is not pre-qualified for a mortgage loan, you're probably not going to show them a house because they're not going to be able to buy the house and they're using up your time and resources and they're not going to be able to lead to a sale. Then the second thing about the pre-approach is kind of like background research. You're going to learn about the potential customer, what they like and dislike, what problems they might have had in the past with your competitors' products, what type of issues they're facing, what kind of pressures they might be facing in their own business environment, and therefore, in a sense, to kind of know what they're probably or likely to respond to. The next step is you're going to make the approach. You're going to make the call. You're going to meet the customer for the first time. It can happen in a variety of different venues. It can be over a lunch, a dinner. It could be playing golf. It could be a phone call, and basically saying, "Look, would you give me the opportunity to, interest you in our product? And this is how I think we might be able to resolve some of your issues or concerns or products," and kind of, in a sense, approach them without necessarily. And then you kind of start the presentation process, which is about, one way to think about it is a value story, which means how does my product or service answer your needs and solve your problems. And this is going to be a relatively orchestrated or designed, sales pitch. Usually you're given a limited amount of time. You're going to probably have a variety of different people from your business customer there. You're going to maybe have your team, people handling different aspects, the finances, the nature of the product, someone handling the presentation, etc. The next step, handling objections. So trying to get additional information, find out what might be holding them back from making a decision, answering clarifying questions. So, for example, if there's some parameters to the use of your product or services, or there's maybe um, some limitations on it, what those might be. And then you're going to ask the customer for an order, which means like, look, we've made a presentation. I think we've answered some of your concerns. If you are ready to make an action on this, and you're kind of, in a sense, what is called closing. You want to close the deal. You want to get a signature on the line. You don't want to leave before they make a commitment. And you sometimes see this particularly with financial sales where they try to make a sale, even if it's a relatively small sale, because usually after approaching someone and giving of your time and your advice or kind of a presentation about the current state of financial markets, you say, look, you don't have to buy all of my products. Why don't you just buy one, just as kind of, let's say, a taste and see, see if you like it, see if it works for you, and something that might be involving less risk. But you've closed it and you've gotten the customer to commit to buying something. And then after that, you want to follow up and see whether the customer is satisfied and whether they want to renew their order, repeat business, and also find products or solutions to additional problems or needs that they might have. So the personal selling process is mostly, the reason why it is different than an advertisement or a sales promotion is that there's an interaction going on. It's a conversation. So you're not just in a sense trying to while you're trying to get a transaction, you're trying to get a signature on a deal, you're trying to get an actual order or purchase of your product or service, what you're really doing is you're building up a relationship. And that's why you're spending time learning about your customer, spending time on follow-up, and answering their concerns. In a sense, like answering their objections, because you're trying to learn about them and to exist in the idea that you're going to have repeated transactions and repeated purchases, and that you care about them as a person and not just as, let's say, a customer. Um, so this is not just you talking at your potential customers. It also means that you are listening, you're gathering information on them, and you're coordinating your firm's efforts to create the most value for them, and then trying to capture a share of that value for your. So let's talk to the last type of sales or sales promotions, and these are types of incentives or deals or gimmicks that encourage or create a sense of urgency in the customer to act on the purchase or of a product or service now. So sometimes these are just referred to as promotions, so that what these are encompasses the whole category of what we're talking about. But I think these are generally things that are set up like a discount like 20% off, or a frequency buy 10 and get one free, or some other thing that is kind of, or a seasonal discount, which means you can get a discount for the next 10 days because of a particular like sales holiday or things of that sort. And that creates the urgency to act now, because by their actions, they're maybe getting a better deal. But if they don't act, they might lose the opportunity to be act on that deal. So um, sales promotions don't just have to be targeted toward the final buyers. They can be targeted at various different links in the chain. So for example, you might create promotions for your sales force. For example, you might have a competition, i.e. something that rewards the salesperson who makes the most sales in a period of time. And they might get a reward or a bonus. And so therefore, because they're incentivized, they might work harder, or they might do things to get consumers to make more orders. It could be a promotion targeted at retailers and wholesalers. So it's a trade promotion, which means you might ask them to give them a discount on a product that they're already buying from you, but ask that they provide shelf space for a new product so that they get exposure on something they're trying to reach the final customers. They can be consumer promotions such as coupons or discounts or trade-in allowances or things of that sort. So several things recently have contributed to a rapid growth of sales promotions. Is that product managers there's a lot of pressure to increase their current sales, because you're getting to a point where you don't have, let's say, reliable sales. You don't have the same relationships that you might have in the past, and manufacturers and people who are trying to move product need to keep their workforce employed, particularly in the United States, where you see manufacturing coming under a lot more pressure every year during the post-war period. There is more competition from generic or less differentiated brands. And so there might be things to build loyalty or people to buy, let's say, a more expensive product. So, for example, if you have a generic soda, you don't, it's generic, it's low price, it's kind of, in a sense, it's the value proposition is inherent in what it is. But if you want them to buy a premium brand where the price might be higher, you might sometimes have to put it on sale or give a volume discount or things of that sort to encourage people to buy your more expensive item. Um, Something related to what we have talked before is that people become more skeptical and have more reservations about things that are clearly advertisements. They feel they're being pushed, they don't like the pressure, and therefore, even the same number of advertisements in the past are not yielding or generating the same return as they would. Um, and consumers kind of expect to get a bargain or a deal, and they are unwilling to make any type of purchase until the deal is offered to them. Even if it's, let's say, not really a good bargain in the sense that it's economical, but the idea they want to feel like they're getting something. You can see this in terms of college scholarships, where a lot more scholarships are given now than they were in the past. And what's happened very often is that universities and colleges have raised their prices far beyond what the price used to tuition cost used to be in the past, but they offer more scholarships, which actually reduces the actual price paid for education for their students. So the idea is that because people like getting a deal, they rather have higher ordinary prices and get some of that money back and feel like, well, I got a scholarship, they want me, it's making the cost cheaper than they would at, let's say, a lower average tuition price, which existed, let's say, in previous years. Um, However, the growth of promotions is that there's so much information and so many discounts, it's hard for consumers to keep track of it, and it's hard for consumers to know you keep track of all the differentiation and what is a true value and the relative value. So they've tried to more dramatic displays. They've used a lot more interactive media. They've made things available online. They sent things directly to email. So things that are more targeted toward people who are about to make a purchase. So what you see often with coupons is that using people's phones and their location data is to kind of send them coupons when they're in a place where they're likely to make a buying decision. So in a store, when they're searching for something online and related to a certain product, that you get kind of a push advertisement that is more targeted rather than sending a lot of information out there for people whose minds might be on many different things and not your product. So we talked about the sales promotions and have a lot of different objectives. They can be targeted at consumers to increase short-term sales or to raise the level of brand awareness or brand involvement by customers. They can be traded promotions that are targeted at retailers to get more inventory into their stores. So they want to put more of your product on, or in a sense, claim more shelf space on retailer shelf space available for your products. It can be Salesforce objectives, which means that you're trying to get salespeople to sell more of an existing product or to focus on sales of new products because you're trying to phase out one type of product and move on to kind of a better product or an enhanced. Um, Usually sales promotions come with a mix of other tools, which means that you don't usually do them by themselves. They can be used as tools for personal selling. They can be things that are featured in advertisements. And so there's things that support it. And usually you want to make sure your sales promotions are consistent with your messaging. So if you're, for example, as I've said many times, if your messaging is trying to position yourself as a quality brand or as a luxury brand, you don't want to be offering a lot of discounts because it kind of undercuts that message. Um, so the promotion should fit what is the product's position in the customer's mind, but also what is your position vis-a-vis your main competitors in the market. So sometimes what there is not just about, in a sense, comparative shopping, like buy my product versus someone else's product. What you might do is reward loyalty or reward frequency, which means that the more you use your card, the more you buy our product, i.e. buy 10, get one free. You see this particularly with like a Starbucks rewards program. You see this sometimes. Salsa Fresca had kind of a buy 10 meals, get the 11th meal free. And so what they're not trying to do is get you to switch from buying one product to another. What they're doing is trying to encourage you to buy more of the product you've already purchased. So as I was telling you before, Starbucks has kind of, let's say, uh, their original ads were mostly about why it's okay to pay a higher price for coffee, justifying their higher charges for coffee because it's a luxury or it's kind of it's higher quality. But now what you're seeing is the Stars program, and my in-laws in particular take advantage of the Starbucks program in the sense that they don't pay with money anymore. They pay with stars garnered from, let's say, buying what is to me a non-coffee drinker an incredible amount of Starbucks products, and even let's say sharing stars with the other members of their family, and they're big aficionados of the loyalty card program. So some examples of sales promotions that you might see, you might have free samples, you get coupons, cash refunds, something that you often see with automobile sales. You can see advertising specialties, meaning like uh, things that you are if you see a particular advertisement, if you refer to a certain ad, you might get a thing. Point of purchase promotions, which just means um, at the place where you're buying, you might, in a sense, get an incentive from the store for or going to a particular location or through a particular channel. Contests, sweepstakes games, things that make it more interactive with their customers. And then sometimes event marketing, which means tying their sales to either dates like 4th of July or maybe things like um, uh, county fair or of that sort. So a good example of a contest would be something that allows the customer to design a product. For example, you design the next donut and you will maybe get like free donuts for life or something like that. Or you might get, you suggest the choice of a name, or you name the next dish at a restaurant or something like that, and you get some type of, let's say, in-kind reward for winning the contest. So kind of related to this are trade promotions, and trade promotions are mostly about not about lowering the price, but about a volume of product available. So trade promotions are generally targeted at retailers or the sellers to the final consumers rather than the final consumers themselves. So they might do a trade promotion where if you buy exclusively from one distributor, i.e., if you use only one type of beverage company in a fast food place, you might get a discount. You might get allowances, which means that you get if you turn in, let's say, old supplies or materials, you can get credit toward new purchases. You might get free samples and goods. You might get money that incentivizes you to put your products onto the shelves. Some other business approach and objectives is that it's to generate leads, get information about what businesses want, increase purchases, reward customers, and to motivate salespeople, which means instead of targeting and giving the incentive for the consumer to buy the product, you might want to give an incentive for the salesperson to make a better effort, a stronger effort to sell the product. So one business promotion tool that you see a lot is like the convention and trade show, and you see this particularly with the growth of Las Vegas conventions. Is that one thing that made Las Vegas grow as an entertainment center wasn't just that people would go and gamble money or go to nice restaurants or kind of the whole carnival atmosphere of Las Vegas, is that it became a go-to place with a lot of cheap flights, a relatively sizable airport for conventions where people would show kind of the next season or the next generation of their products. So, for example, Las Vegas was Sheldon Adelson, who's one of the richer people in the world, made most of his money by holding like high-tech conventions that were tied to the growth of the computer industry, where people would show their products for the first time, and they would bring in salespeople and purchasers from all around the country to go see the new products and then make decisions about whether they wanted to stock them in their stores. So here's an example of the International Consumer Electronics Show. You basically have a lot of different kiosks putting different things from flat screen TVs to software to computer systems. And you have people who are exhibiting, trying to sell their products, but also professional visitors who might have the ability to buy it for a particular retailer, or people who maybe are influencers for this part of the market. So when you have a sales promotion, you have to decide a lot of different things, like, what's the size of the incentive? Is it going to be 20% off, 25% off, 33% off, 50% off? What are the conditions? So you might say, for example, certain people might not be able to participate. So if you have a contest where people in your company are going to be judges, you might exclude, let's say, their family members and their friends from participating in the contest. You might have to make a decision where you're going to promote this contest. So what part of the market are you targeting, and how long you're going to have the program, and then whether the program is leading uh, to more sales or achieving some of your marketing objectives.